Salutations, and welcome to Kirby Plays Games. This is 7 Days to Die, and in this video I am going to be sharing my picks for the top 5 early game skills to help you survive the zombie apocalypse. This will be a bit different from my previous skills guide in two important ways. First, this guide is for version Alpha 19, whereas my previous guide was created in reference to version Alpha 18 of the game. The changes are minimal, but some changes between versions have given certain perks a clear advantage in the early game. Additionally, my previous guide was based on specific styles of play and game objectives and provided multiple build options for those different paths. This guide, on the other hand, will be a more general guide with the 5 skills I believe to have the most utility early game for the majority of playstyles and in-game scenarios. With that intro out of the way, let's get started. The first skill I want to mention is Lucky Looter. This is a solid first pick, as in early game you will be doing a lot of looting, and improving your proficiency here early on in the game immediately increases your chances of finding sweet gear and essential equipment. The first level of this skill is Slim Chance, and it adds a 5% bonus to loot quality and lets you loot 10% faster. Crafting must-haves like weapons and armor will usually require skill points to be spent in different categories, so it makes a lot of sense to spend 1 skill point in Lucky Looter early game to increase your chance of finding those essential objects as you raid and loot around the game world. The next skill on my list is Sexual Tyrannosaurus, which reduces the stamina required for melee attacks and tool use. More specifically, the first level of this perk, Benchwarmer, reduces the stamina cost of melee weapons and tools by 8% for normal attacks, which are performed by left-clicking, and by 15% for power attacks, which are performed by right-clicking. This might not seem as exciting as improving your chances at awesome loot. However, in the early game, chances are you will be getting into a lot of close quarter combat with the undead, and will probably notice that stamina is definitely a limiting factor when it comes to eliminating zombies with your club, spear, or sledgehammer. Indeed, when fighting multiple zombies in a tight space, stamina efficiency can be the factor that determines your survival. Additionally, the reduction of stamina needed for tool use can significantly increase the speed of early game resource harvesting, which is great as it decreases the amount of time spent grinding and allows for more building, exploring, and raiding. The next skill on my list is Pack Mule, which might be obvious to some, but possibly overlooked or deemed unimportant by others. The first level of this skill, Disorganized, allows you to carry an additional 3 items in your inventory without being encumbered. And while it is true that you can eventually craft pockets to address this crafting of pockets will take a while, and having more inventory space without being reduced to a crawl is important for securing starting supplies quickly and efficiently, in my opinion. I can honestly say that one of the things that annoys me most in 7 Days to Die is finding all sorts of awesome loot in a point of interest that I just cleared, and having to sit there and decide what to leave behind so I can make it back to safety before nightfall. Later in the game, vehicles and pocket mods help to mitigate this. However, in the early game, being over encumbered makes it hard to escape from zombies, fight them off, or get anywhere quickly. So while I probably wouldn't spend any additional points here, in most cases, it is my opinion that the first level of Pack Mule is a solid pick for the early game adventurer. For the 4th skill on my list, I am recommending level 1 of Healing Factor, Fast Metabolism, which grants 1 point of health regeneration every 90 seconds and allows critical injuries to heal 20% faster. This rate of healing is a bit slower than in previous versions of 7 Days to Die. However, the ability to heal critical injuries faster was added in this version, and in my opinion, this is a huge benefit. To put it simply, if you thought trying to move, well, over encumbered was a pain, then just wait until you are trying to shuffle around the map with a broken leg. And with updates to the variety, frequency, and severity of critical injuries in this version, I feel like this additional benefit of being able to heal those critical injuries faster makes Healing Factor a great choice for an early game perk to pick up. It is worth noting, however, that the health regeneration feature only functions if the player is not hungry. Speaking of hunger, this brings us to the final perk on my list, which is Master Chef. The first level of this perk, Bachelor, unlocks basic recipes and increases cooking speed by 10%. This might be a surprising choice to some, but the value of good food should not be overlooked, especially in the early game. Charred meat will only get you so far, and since stamina is tied to hunger, it is important to keep your hunger at bay. Specifically, your food meter will drain over time, and movement or actions will consume a portion of this as well. The first level of this skill unlocks recipes for boiled and grilled meats, baked potatoes, cornbread, bacon and eggs, as well as teas and coffees. It is possible to find these recipes while looting, but it is probably best not to rely on this. Also, it is worth noting that even these simple foods will often have better stats and benefits than most of the food you can find while looting or acquire from vending machines. This is why I would recommend at least one person in your adventuring party should take Master Chef Level 1. And that is my list for the top 5 skills for starting out in 7 Days to Die. But a couple honorable mentions before we wrap up this video. These are great perks, but their benefits are more niche and not applicable to all playstyles and situations, so they didn't quite make the list. First, we have Advanced Engineering, which allows you to craft a forge. This is probably something you want to pick up relatively early, but it is not essential for the first few days, and it is quite possible to find a forge schematic in loot, or to find a working forge in the world for your use. Another favorite of mine is Miner 69er, which allows the crafting of higher level tools and also increases tool and block damage. This one doesn't make the list since you can often find better tools easily, and Sexual Tyrannosaurus serves to increase early resource harvesting speed while also assisting in melee combat. And that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments if your list would look any different. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing for more awesome 7 Days to Die content. Most importantly, have an excellent day.